Good Tuesday morning, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. A heads up to parents in the South Metro. All high schools in District 196 are closed today after online threats towards the district. That includes Apple Valley, Eastview, Egan, and Rosemount high schools, according to the district. In a Facebook post, the district says they are working with law enforcement on the matter and that safety is their top priority. Students that are at the school are being dismissed and buses will be available to bring students home. The district says more information on exactly what is going on will come out later on today. Our top story this morning, the Robbinsdale School Board has voted to close 3 schools as they work through a multi-million-dollar budget deficit. Robbinsdale Middle School, Noble and Sonneson Elementary, and the Educational Services Building are all on the chopping block. Lakeview and Neal Elementary are staying open. It was a contentious debate with families as the board made their decision. Aja Russo has a closer look at the heated back and forth.
Yeah, the Robbinsdale School District has to prove to the state how it's going to get out of that $21 million budget deficit. They have to provide them with a written plan by January 31st, and closing these schools is part of that cost-cutting initiative. But the community was not shy in criticizing the decision last night.
As parents and taxpayers, we did not create this financial crisis. So why are our families, our children, and our dedicated staff being forced to pay the price?
So the board came to this decision after considering other options like downsizing transportation and larger class sizes. The decline in student enrollment did play a role, as the district noted that some buildings were underused and some of those buildings were outdated and cost millions of dollars to maintain. Now, the Board of Education thanked families for speaking out last night. The superintendent shares that sentiment in new reaction this morning as she begins working on a transition plan for the students in the closing schools.
I'm proud of our community and the way they have advocated and communicated and shared their stories with us.
And the board may not be done with school closures yet. In fact, on January 5th, there's actually going to be a separate public hearing and a vote as the board discusses whether or not to close the Fair School at Pilgrim Lane. That's an elementary school serving about 400 students. Back to you.
We're also tracking uncertainty in the state's largest school district. Tomorrow, 3,200 Anoka Hennepin teachers begin a 4-day vote on whether to authorize a strike. They've been working without a contract since June. Union leaders say rising healthcare costs are the biggest sticking point in their negotiations with the district. They could walk off the job just after the new year. Polls are now open for a special primary to fill 2 empty House seats. District 47A became vacant when Representative Amanda Hemmingson Yeager resigned for a state Senate seat. 3 Democratic candidates and no Republican candidates have filed to run. Whoever wins today will be the only candidate on the special election ballot in January. Now, House seat District 64A belonged to St. Paul Mayor-elect Kali Herr. 7 candidates are on that ballot. 6 of them are DFL candidates. The winner will take on the lone Republican in the race in the special election. Right now, an alleged St. Paul murder suspect is on the run, potentially on his way to Mexico. According to charging documents, 33-year-old Wesley Coboy killed the mother of his children last week, then took the kids to Michigan to, quote, celebrate Christmas. Police say a woman called 911 saying her granddaughter told her that her father shot her mother. Documents say the girl told police she heard a thud like someone falling to the floor. Court documents also say Coboy dropped his children at his mother's house in Michigan, then crossed the border into Canada and booked a flight to Mexico. It's not clear where he is this morning. It's day 4 of a manhunt for whoever's behind the mass shooting at Brown University in Rhode Island. Officials releasing new videos and photos of a person of interest walking through Providence in the hours before the shooting. 2 students were killed in the attack. 9 others were hurt. Authorities are working to determine whether the shooter is still in the area. The FBI right now offering a $50,000 reward for information that can lead to an arrest and conviction.
This is a very active investigation, very complex investigation, and it's the dedicated work of the men and women of the Providence Police Department, the Detective Division, the Community Response Team, the Special Response Team. It's all hands on deck, and there's no one that wants to put this individual in handcuffs than us.
Police detained a person of interest over the weekend but released him, saying the evidence pointed in a different direction. This morning, Australian authorities say this weekend's mass shooting at a Hanukkah event at Bondi Beach was motivated by Islamic State ideology. Officers shot and killed the 50-year-old suspect and injured his 24-year-old son. Police also confirmed they found 2 homemade ISIS flags inside their car. The shooting killed 15 people, More than 24 remain hospitalized. And the shooting is impacting Jewish people around the world, including here in Minneapolis. The senior rabbi of Mount Zion Temple in St. Paul is urging his community to come together, saying as Hanukkah begins, they need to be the light for each other.
There's a limit to what we can do, but to remember that there are many, many more people with love in their hearts than hate in their hearts, and to hold on to that, that is important, and that's a message that I'd like to bring.
He tells us there have been no reports of any threats in the Twin Cities. Some major developments in the push for peace between Russia and Ukraine. A new proposal includes NATO-like security guarantees for Ukraine to prevent further Russian attacks. Ukraine's president says his country would abandon attempts to join NATO, while Russia said it would not oppose Ukraine joining the European Union. NBC's Alice Barr has the very latest from Washington.
Hi there. Territory and security guarantees have always been the central sticking points in Ukraine peace negotiations. And now there appears to be real progress on one of those, with Ukraine's president voicing optimism about promises to keep his country safe from future Russian attacks. Renewed hopes this morning for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine after a second day of U.S.-Ukraine talks in Berlin.
I think we're closer now than we have been ever, and we'll see what we can do.
In a major concession, Ukraine now says it's willing to give up a long-sought push for NATO membership, though President Volodymyr Zelensky says that's only if the U.S. and European allies grant his country NATO-like security guarantees to guard against future Russian attacks.
Мій сигнал щодо гарантій безпеки.
Zelensky is so far resisting another major Russian demand to give up territory. Russian President Vladimir Putin wants Ukrainian forces to withdraw from parts of eastern Ukraine they still control as a key condition for peace. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner working with Ukrainian and European officials to find compromise.
We're making progress. It's more difficult than anybody could have thought.
We're thankful.
Ukrainian negotiators under pressure to accept a U.S.-brokered peace deal that initially backed Moscow's demands now say they're making real progress toward an agreement that could finally bring peace. European leaders released a statement from the Berlin talks saying they and the U.S. committed to jointly providing Ukraine robust security guarantees, including a European-led, U.S.-backed multinational force that would operate inside Ukraine. Russia has previously said it would not accept any troops from NATO countries being based in Ukraine. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
We're live from our nation's capital as Congress races against the clock. Millions of Americans are facing skyrocketing health care premiums as Affordable Care Act subsidies are set to expire soon. However, leaders on both sides of the aisle are at a standstill. Democrats want a 3-year extension, while Republicans want a floor vote on a plan that lets them expire. Now, some centrist Republicans and a handful of Democrats are working on compromises in both chambers.
I think there's a deal that could be done.
It's hundreds of dollars a month for many Americans throughout the country. We have to do right by those people.
Congress has only 3 days before its holiday break. A floor vote is expected to happen later today. Minneapolis leaders and Latino small business owners will gather to speak out against President Trump's immigration policies. The group says those policies are already taking a toll on business and their sense of safety. This comes 24 hours after this ICE activity near the Somali Carmel Mall. Witnesses tell KARE 11 a crowd gathered and tensions escalated after agents attempted to pull 2 women out of a car. Our photographer captured video of what appeared to be a snowball thrown at agents who responded with pepper balls. Federal officials have not commented on the incident. The son of legendary actor-director Rob Reiner could make his first court appearance today. That's according to NBC. Nick Reiner is in jail accused of murdering his father and mother. The district attorney's office is expected to file charges in the case in just a few hours. If that happens, the 32-year-old will then appear before a judge. Nick Reiner has a long history with drug addiction, which he says began in his teens. According to sources, he had been living with his parents on and off. The three of them attended a Hollywood party on Saturday night where sources say Nick was behaving in a way that concerned his parents. Rob and his wife, Michelle, were found the next day in their home with stab wounds. Nick was arrested hours later. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.